Hi everybody, Dumb on Metha here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. Well, this is the first video of the new year, and what a great serendipity that we're also going to be ending a year in my stories, whereas we're finishing off 2011 and starting plus stories that were published in 2012. So let's dive into these stories that were on my favorites list. Will they still be? Let's find out. Starting with Making Magic by Mashadar. This is a Familiar of Zero crossover with Magicka, the video game, where Louise, when she tries to summon a familiar, instead ends up in the world of Magicka and decides to start learning magic as they do. This is a lot of fun because we get to see Louise try to keep a grip on her sanity as she deals with the ridiculousness that is the world of Magicka, while also getting insights into why the wizards over there act the way they do, in really interesting ways. Like, I think the author really got a good grip on the tone and feel of the world of Magicka, and actually adds some decent amounts of logic to actually make it feel reasonable, in a sense, why they act the way they do. And all that chaos works even better because it's juxtaposed next to scenes back in the Familiar of Zero world where they all think Louise died because of this familiar ceremony because she's just gone. And it's serious, but because of the humor is just overwhelming and we have the hope there, it doesn't bring it down. It just makes it more ridiculous when we always cut back to it. I really like this fic because I love Magicka and their style of humor. Like, it really gets to me, and like I said, I feel like this author really got a handle on that style as well. I wish it had continued, and I wish there was more, but the jokes here and the humor is all super entertaining, really funny. I definitely recommend you give this a look, and it is going to stay on my list. Alright, the next story that I have on my list is The Beast That I Am by Orion Pax 09. And this is a Love Hina story where Shinobu basically becomes She-Hulk. She gets a power and she gets She-Hulk transformation, but she also, it's more like the regular Hulk where she can't control it and she goes back. Or at least, maybe she could eventually control it. Right now, the problem with this story is that we only get basically the first act of a movie. It's a bit of a problem because I say movie, and I mean a movie's story, and we're only getting the first act, because a movie story requires all three acts to really coalesce. Whereas like anime, they have arcs, so if it was only the first arc, usually that is it has its own narrative arc, and it's a story that can be self-contained with a lot more to go off of. But as it's a movie, we're basically just getting the inciting incident and a little bit of denouement where they have to then deal with the actions of the first bit, but not the bigger, like a couple actions of the first incident, but not the major actions or the overarching change that the incident has now created. And I know you could say like it's hypocritical that like I was just saying, oh, the previous story was incomplete and you had no problems with that, but here you're saying, oh, it's incomplete, so it's a huge issue. It's like the previous story was a comedy. Comedy and dramas are very different in terms of narrative completion, and it becomes a lot more important in dramas because, like I said, all the actual investment and enjoyment comes from the payoffs. And when you only have the first arc of a movie, there's not many payoffs. The only real scene or payoff that might even interest anybody is seeing Shinobu, when she's going She-Hulk, lay a beat down on Naru, Motoko, and Kaola for, attacking Keitaro. That's it. Otherwise, it's just a whole lot of, okay, shit's changed. Wait, can't wait to see how people deal with it. And we never get to see anything. Comedies, if the story payoff is there, that's just another way of investment. The main investment in comedies is the jokes. Are the jokes funny? That's number one. Second, do the jokes or running gags or anything they have land well multiple times, and can you go back to them after they've gone? If the answer is yes, I will keep that on my list. If it's not, I'll say give it a look if I laugh, but it's not really, it won't stay on my list. But this one, it's a drama, which really doesn't give you much other than no resolutions. It only gives you implications and like, oh shit, things changed that we never get to see. Which just frustrates me because I would like to see a Shinobu story where she actually becomes a lot more confident and starts taking the other girls to task and moving forward and asserting herself with Keitaro. And the fact that it's just not here really frustrates me. And that's why this story will not stay on my list. All right. Next is The Snake Pit of Little Chucky's Mind by dogbertcarroll. And this is a Harry Potter fic that, again, as with most dogbertcarroll fics, is incomplete. But also, as with 99% of dogbertcarroll fics, is a comedy, so lands on a different set of rules as the previous one. I've stated multiple times that I love this author. I love his style of humor. Oh god. Am I gonna... oh god. Bless me. Sorry. Sorry about that. But anyway, I've said multiple times I love this author. And I love his style of humor. And this is him self-inserting himself, or getting self-inserted by a Rob into Harry's body during the Dementor attack in Order of the Phoenix, because the Rob's pissed that he never finishes any of his goddamn stories, which I really relate to. But in actuality, the story itself is a lot of fun. You know, he has a great style of humor that I really enjoy. And how him getting himself in there and using his knowledge of the books and tropes to, get himself some girls and, like, lay out some harsh truths to the people is just really, really entertaining for me. And I feel like there's a lot here to come back to again and again, which, as I said, for comedies, that's my style. Do the jokes work and land multiple times? Yes, then I will recommend this and keep it on my list. That is exactly the case here. I like it a lot. It's going to stay on my list. Right. So, number 4. And the last story of 2011 on my list is Miles Across the Universe by Manga Freak 15, which is a Hikaru no Go fic that actually, it's pretty simple in idea, and it fits the overall tone and flow of the anime pretty well from what I remember. But that's also a bad thing because the anime was pretty dull at a lot of points. I watched this anime. Hikaru no Go is basically a sports anime where the sport is not important. It tries to be about character drama and character growth, and it kind of succeeds, but the growth and change is pretty minute that it doesn't really feel like you can definitely feel. I think going back to it, you definitely feel its age because it's definitely an older anime. Like, let me see, when did Hikaru no Go come out? Hikaru no Go came out in 2004. Wow, really? I thought it would be older. When was the anime? Was the anime 2004 as well? The anime was 2001. Oh, wait, it wasn't 2004. What the hell? Oh, the TV film was 2004. No, the anime was 2001 to 2003, and the manga is from 99. So yeah, you can definitely kind of feel its age and how it takes things. Because, like, more sports animes now, is like, even if they're not fully into the sport, it's a lot more drama based on the stuff, and this is really not a lot. The one thing that makes it novel and a little interesting is that you don't get Hikaru is not even though he's our main character, we don't get his point of view aside from like one small scene. The main thing we're seeing is the reactions of other people and how he impacts their lives, which again makes it novel, but it also makes it very repetitive and again leads to the dullness that comes later on, because basically it just becomes a repeat of, oh, this guy showed up and wow, he's super strong and really good and he's just super powerful. Oh god, he's so scary. Oh, I can't wait to see him beat up on this guy. and again and again and again and again. That's all we get. And there's no stakes or anything. There's no the only even hint of drama comes on the last chapter of this unfinished story, and at the same time in that same chapter it basically gets squashed so that there's no bad blood or beef between them. And it's like, okay, then there's really nothing to give a shit about in this story, because you just have a super amazing competent player who are just seeing from new people's eyes, being like, oh, this guy beat this guy, this guy beat this guy, this guy beat this guy, and it becomes repetitive and dull. Hell, there's one chapter that is literally just a Go match being commentated by two other people that he's playing for like commentary purposes. I don't know Go, so I don't know if the actual moves they play, because they commentate the entire fucking match. I don't know if the moves they play would actually make him win the match or make it do whatever it did, or if it's a good match or not. But that was a freaking waste of a chapter for me, because I just did not care, or like I don't know the game itself. So like maybe it would be, if somebody knows the game, maybe it'd be more interesting. But that was a waste. And then the fact that there's no drama or anything interesting in any of the rest of it just makes this a really just dull, banal like story that you really don't need to read. And it's not going to stay on my list. Okay. Next is No Limits by Manos Kain. And this is a Marvel crossover with Naruto that's a sequel to one of his previous stories called No Reading. That was on my list. It is not anymore. That story was Naruto basically being injected into the Marvel Civil War story arc. And this takes place after that. Unfortunately, it's only a single chapter, not a one-shot. It was meant to be more of a story, as you could tell, because a single chapter is just basically an introduction to the character, a reintroduction to the main cast of characters after however long of a time jump is between the old story, where we're just saying, okay, now he's with this team, here's what they can do, here's a bit of a sample of their powers, and that's it. It's nothing impressive on its own. Easily, this single chapter can easily be skipped, especially because there's nothing there afterwards. And it's just, as a whole, you can just ignore this idea to begin this story to begin with. But No Reading at least was complete, so it's still something to at least look at. But it didn't stay on my list. Neither will this. All right, almost to the end. This one is called The Blender by Lord's Fire. And this is a author's, repository of ideas that they have. Again, it's like that. I've had many like that on this list. I have many more, I know, that are going to show up later. So the way it works for these kind of stories is I say, okay, how many ideas are there? And if I go back and I picked a random chapter, do I have more of a chance of hitting a winner or a loser? And in this case, there's really only 2 or 3 ideas that I like of this 21 chapter thing. Granted, one of the ideas has multiple chapters to it. So, hell, even though like that, like it's not that those chapters don't make a full story and it's not complete, but if they had pulled just those chapters out, the Harry Potter being raised by Kamina from Gurren Lagann, I would definitely have kept just those chapters as a story on my list by itself, even though that was incomplete, because again, it's humor. But the majority of this stuff is stuff that I won't say is bad, it just did not hit with me. I did not care about most of this stuff, even though, like, hell, this guy wrote Brutal Harry, and there's a couple like Brutal Harry deleted scenes here, but even those didn't seem to mesh well with me, maybe because of the juxtaposition between the other stuff that just didn't fit the same tone. But this one, again, for me, it's more losers than winners, and that means it's not going to stay on my list. Alright, and the last story for this video is Harry Potter and the Immortal Captain by 252020. And this is a Harry Potter crossover with Torchwood, the TV show, where after the war's over, Harry walks through the Veil, ends up in Cardiff, and meets Jack and starts working for Torchwood. The story is actually kind of like quick moving. It has the benefit of being complete, always a plus, but it also breezes through everything. If you did not watch the show Torchwood and did not watch the like 2 episodes of the Doctor Who season where Jack and the 10th Doctor and Martha Jones interact, you will very easily get lost because it skips over basically every scene that does not have Harry interjecting something into it. And I did not watch Torchwood. I did watch the Doctor Who, so I followed those bits. But the Torchwood scenes and all the cases that they go through, which is like 5 or 6 cases, I did get lost because I or not lost because it's still enough to make it kind of understand what's going on, but all the nuances and interesting and like actually understanding what's going on, none of that's there. So if you didn't watch the shows, you are not gonna really connect with anything that's going on. It's not terrible, but it doesn't really stand out by itself either. Even the character drama of the connection with Harry connecting with Jack as both being immortal people now, like, is pretty like blasé, surface level. We don't really get any deeper connections. It's very just like, oh hey, we're together a couple times, and then we kiss and start, and just like literally they just start screwing each other. And it's like, and I mean, we don't see any of that, but it's all like just implications and stuff like that, and it's just like offhand. It doesn't, there's nothing substantial here. I would say give it a look if you're a fan of Torchwood and the series itself, but otherwise I don't really see many people connecting with this fic, and it's not going to stay on my list. So there we go. New year 2021. Hope everybody's having a good year. Let me just wrap up fanfiction status time. I have now read 661 stories from my favorites list, and 326 of them are going to stay on my list so far. So again, Happy New Year. I know it's not the New Year now, but like, I hope everybody's having at least a good first week, good start to the year. I've also Happy New Year to my favorites list. Now we're into the year 2012. There's gonna again be a while that I'm here. I think the biggest one is gonna be 2013. I think that's the biggest block of favorites list stories, because in the years after, I started moving away from fanfiction.net and I stopped adding stuff to my favorites list. So I think definitely the biggest chunk is gonna be coming up for that in years of probably like 2013 and 2014. But regardless, thank you everybody for watching this video. If you want to read any of these stories, links are in the description down below, as well as a link to the playlist of all these videos that I've been doing since I started, a forum where I post this if you want to just scroll through it all instead of just watching videos, as well as a link to my actual fanfiction.net profile so you can see what stories will be coming up on the docket. Please leave a like if you like this video, comment if you think my taste is shit or anything else, and subscribe if you want to be notified when these come out, because I try, but I'm really sporadic because of all the stuff that I do. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.